Well, my friend, I appreciate you asking, and I've answered this question many times before, but since you did ask, I'm going to go ahead and answer it again, though this time I'm going to take a little bit different tack than I have before, because the answer is simple, so simple, in fact, that women refuse to hear it, refuse to accept it. In fact, they're going out of their way to tell men just how wrong they are for even thinking or saying it, because in their minds, they know better than men why men think, feel, and act the way they do. And they're downright miffed when men dare to tell them. And that right there is the problem. You see, women today don't respect men anymore. Not in any way, shape, or form. Nor, for that matter, do they appreciate them or show any willingness whatsoever to acknowledge anything they do. All of which, by the way, are the very top things that men seek in a woman, which 99.99% of women out there can't seem to fathom or accept. And which is exactly why men are done and walking away. Because you see, women have proven time and again how disrespectful and unappreciative they are by saying that anything men do is nothing more than the bare minimum. Or they'll go around and say that men just sit around expecting women to do it all, that they never do anything, and a host of the other things that they spew at men on a daily basis. Or they say that men should not be trusted or women shouldn't feel safe around them because, well, they're men. And they say all this while at the very same time claiming that they, and by extension all other women, are paragons of virtue. They literally walk on water, so perfect are they. And while that may sound good to women, while it may make them feel strong and independent, though, I gotta say, I can't fathom how they think attacking and trying to hurt men makes them strong and independent, but okay. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they do think that way because that's pretty much all they do, day in and day out. But sadly for them, it has nothing to do with reality, and especially the very real reality that men aren't going to tolerate it anymore. And this is all on top of the aforementioned attitude that they and only they know how men think and feel, and why men do the things that they do. And it's why they get so angry and tell men all the time they don't know what they're talking about when men do try to tell them. Don't believe me? Go read all the comments from women on my videos where I tell them how men think and feel and why they act the way they do, only for those women to go straight to that river in Egypt, losing their minds telling me how wrong I am and how all other men who think that way are also wrong. And oh, by the way, how we all hate women for even mentioning it. And they do this even in some cases after tens of thousands of men on the videos in question have commented that they completely agree or have experienced the very same thing or that I've gotten it completely correct. You see, in their mind, they're right and all those men, they're wrong, dead wrong. But rather than listen to me and rather than listen to those men, they just keep on keeping on even though it hasn't worked, isn't working, and is never going to work. In the end, it comes down to women thinking that the best way to attract men is to continue mistreating them. Why, I'll never know, because it's about as logical as trying to put out a forest fire with a flamethrower and then being surprised when things get worse. And the real reason they do it is to avoid accountability, to avoid taking responsibility, and ultimately to allow they and all women to wallow in their victimhood. Something they live, breathe, and die for. It's been this way forever, and while it took a while, far too long in fact, times have changed. Men now see women for who they are and how they operate. They see just how toxic they are towards men in general, and them in particular. Every man has seen it, every man has experienced it, every man has lived it. And other than the sad few men who think that not admitting all of that is true is somehow going to get them laid, every man has acknowledged it for what it is. How women have no problem now belittling men, demeaning them, dismissing them, their issues, and their problems. their wants, and their desires. Women haven't just burned their bridges, they've napalmed them and dropped Moab after Moab on top of them. And they continue to do so because, as I said, somehow in their mind, they think that's going to get men to come back to them, to want to be with them. It's insane to say the least, yet it's exactly why 80% of men are no longer dating or even trying to. And that number, my friends, is only going to go up. Because as I've said repeatedly, there's no benefit to dating or relationships or marriage for men. None whatsoever. Men have now seen that when it comes to relationships with women, they've proven time and again that they have nothing to offer to men, not in the least. And that if anything, they lose their minds if men even dare to think that they should have something to offer. Men are making it clear they're done. They're done being treated the way they are. Done with being told to sit down and shut up. Done with being blamed for their so-called toxic masculinity, which is really nothing more than women's justification for their being toxic towards men. And they're done with the universal disrespect women across the board have shown to men. Done with women's responses when men point it all out to them, which is to double down on it all. Most of all, they're done with women being, well, women, whatever that is these days. The bottom line is women have brought this on, and while they may figure it out one day, and let's be honest, that's highly questionable since they can't even take a modicum of responsibility for anything, even then, men aren't going to come rushing back. Men see things for what they are. They don't just forgive and forget, especially when it comes to being disrespected. For most men, getting disrespected is a one-and-done thing. There is no coming back from it. There is no trust that can be rebuilt. And that is exactly what women have done for my entire lifetime. Disrespected men, which in the end is the simple reason why, ladies, more and more of you are going to end up alone and stay that way. But here's a thought. Might I suggest that maybe instead of denying what I just said, maybe instead of doubling down on your toxicity, you see it for what it is and change. Yeah, I know. How dare I even suggest something so outrageous? But the reality is, you'd have a much better chance if you admitted the mistakes you've made and addressed them. Then again, you'd have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice while holding a winning lottery ticket and a Bigfoot selfie in your hand than that happening.